Well, howdy there, folks. This is your host, ID Jester. Thank you so much for joining me again today. As you can see, we are going back to the East Front and play some more Mark H. Walker's Lock-in Load Heroes of Stalingrad. In fact, we're not going to be playing this episode. What we're going to do is one of my longtime subscribers, Jack, had asked for some more information about missions and about the editor. So I've had this game for a couple days now and was able to play some missions. I also played a multiplayer game last night with my good friend Langley down in Atlanta, and we got on and got a mission started last night. And we also today we had a chance to look at some more of the editor options. And so today what I'm going to try and do is just show you and talk to you about some of the breakdown of the missions and also give you some information about the editor. I'm certainly not an expert on the editor. I've only had this game for 2 days now, so hopefully I can get you some information about it and just kind of give you a basic overview. And as things progress and hopefully I get better with it, we'll be able to do some things. But we are going to try and create a generic mission today and see how that goes. So if we go into new game here, you can see that there are campaigns and there are scenarios. If we go into the campaigns, there is 2 linking scenario campaigns. There is a German campaign and obviously a Soviet campaign. For the German campaign, there are 18 linked missions, and I think you'll play them kind of in order and progress through the war. Same thing with the Soviet. There are 15 linked missions that you're going to be used to play the Soviet campaign and work through the war with that campaign as well. As far as scenario goes, there is 15 standalone missions that come with the game, which means you can play against the enemy AI, and there are 9 multiplayer specific missions. As far as mission goes, because this game comes with an editor, that means that there are people already out there who are creating missions for this game. I was actually able to get on last night and download 4 or 5 different missions that people had created, and in fact played one of the scenarios here, War of the Rats, a really good scenario that someone had set up, kind of interesting, and it was really fun scenario to play. So being a game that comes with an editor, and once people understand how the editor works, this you're going to get exponential more play out of this game because there'll be that much more out there. And as the developers create and add things to the game, hopefully this game will give you many hours of gameplay. You can pick this up now on the matrixgames.com website. It's $39.95, I believe, $39.99, something like this, about $40 US dollars. As far as the scenarios go, you can see if you click on a scenario, it will give you some information about it, tell you how long it is, and it will also tell you whether or not it's multiplayer only, or some of the scenarios will actually tell you which side to play. So this one here, this one's only playable as the Soviets versus the Germans, so you can't play the Germans versus the Soviets, and we'll kind of explain a little bit of that when we go through the editor. This one here, you can probably play both sides here. And some of them, such as, let's look at maybe some of these up here, is multiplayer only. So you can see that just by clicking on them. And like I mentioned, I had already downloaded some of the extra scenarios that people had created for this game. So let's look at the editor and see exactly what this does. There are tutorial missions as well. I'm sorry. One of the things I forgot to mention. There are tutorials. You can see there are 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It looks like about 11 or 12 basic tutorials covering different aspects of the game and kind of showing you how to operate the game as you progress through. And if you're not familiar with the Locked and Loaded series, if you've never played the board game, which I highly recommend you do, definitely invest in some of the board game version of it, and if you're not familiar with that, you could definitely run through the tutorials, or you can just wait for my special walkthrough tutorials and show you how to play the game if that would be easier for you. So there are scenarios and tutorials. Let's look at the editor now, and that's kind of been really interesting. And the first thing you notice when you click on the editor is really you're going to go do the scenario editor. It's complicated, it's undocumented, and it's scary. Are you really sure you want to do this? Is basically what it's saying. And I say yes. And since it's undocumented and there's not any information that you can find out about it, basically everything that you know about the editor you've got to kind of learn by yourself. So everything that I've learned so far has just been messing around with it and just trying different things and trying to figure it out. One of the best resources you can actually use to help you figure out things is to actually bring up some of the scenarios that are already created. So if I hit Control L, you will see that I can bring up a list of all of the current maps, and I can go to my scenario here that I've been playing, and it is Partisan's Defense, and I can click on Open, and you will see there is a copy of the map. Here's a copy of the different objectives, and you can click on F2 to look at the units. So basically here's the way the editor works. Here's all the important information is in white. The dark orange shows you what you're currently looking at, and the information that you can use to change or edit things is down here in the yellow. So we're going to go through more of this in depth here in just a few minutes. I kind of want to show you. So I can look at this scenario and I can say, okay, I played this scenario a couple times and I don't understand how they did this. Well, I can then go into this actual scenario and I can look and see, okay, well that's how they did this, and okay, this unit can't move because, well, one of the things is, you notice if I click on this X, that these units here are fixed. So there's something in the system that says these units can't move until something happens. So how do I do that if I want to add that to another scenario? So you can kind of come into this scenario and trying to figure out, oh, okay, well, I see they added some kind of thing to it and now blah blah blah. So it's kind of just to basically help you along. And also, if you don't like this scenario, if you decide, oh, it's a pretty good scenario but it's really tough, or maybe I want to add a tank, or maybe I want to add something else or whatever, you can do that. You just have to delete a few things and change a few things around, and you can have a totally different scenario. Maybe you want the Germans, instead of coming over in down here, maybe you want the Germans to come in up over in this corner, which would totally make the scenario different. So you can move some different units around, and you basically have the same scenario again, but not quite exactly. So we'll get into some more details and show you this. For our purposes, you can zoom out, obviously, as you can see here, just like you can in the regular game, and you can zoom in. I think there are like 3 different layers. 1, 2, 3, 4. I like playing this way because I like seeing the actual stuff, and I use my arrow keys on the keyboard to kind of scroll around the map this way. So there are different things that we're going to be looking at, and some of the things won't actually show up here if you're zoomed out. For example, if I go into the terrain here, if I'm zoomed out, maybe it shows me okay. Not exactly as much information, but anyways, F1 is the terrain, so it's going to show you the terrain mod. So basically what happens is, when you bring up a map, the computer needs to know what each of the different hexes are. The hexes that are clear or basically don't have any information written about them. And you can see obviously that this hex is a road hex. This one here is a stone building. You can see down here is rubble. Here's full forest. Here's light woods. All kinds of different terrain. But basically you have to tell the computer what each of these different hex represents. So fortunately for us, that's already been taken care of, so we don't need to worry about that. Which brings me to one of the really cool things I wish they would add to this. Let's say, for example, I wanted to create another scenario, but I wanted to use this map. I could actually get in here, and I can change each of these hexes to be whatever I want it to be. I could say that this is a road hex and this is a road hex. The only problem is I can't actually put the graphics on here yet. So what I'm hoping they do is they create overlays that you'll have access to. Maybe they already do and I just don't know it. Like I said, I'm certainly not an expert. I've only had this game a couple of days. I've learned quite a bit of stuff. I don't think they have overlays in here, but I could be wrong. But if I had an overlay of this building right here, this stone building, and maybe I wanted to use this map, but I want to have another stone building maybe up here in G2. If I had an overlay and I could place that building here, then I could change this hex to be a small building hex instead of a clear hex. Then I would have a brand new component. Now this one is not that not that different if I add like one building, but you'll see as I look at let's look at where's the open map. Where is the open map? I don't know what the name of the open map is. Okay, so this is kind of another interesting map. There's not a lot of terrain features to it, and again, if I could add maybe a couple forest hexes back here by using some overlays or maybe a building or two, that would be really cool to be able to do that. So basically the terrain in each of the different maps has already been assigned for us, which is really good, really helpful. The next thing is F2, which is units. So you can actually see the units, where they are in the map, where all the units are. You can add them, which we're going to do here in a little bit. Next 3 is off-board. This is going to be kind of like your off-board artillery, maybe your planes that fly in and drop bombs, I'm assuming. F4 is your line of sight. So this is probably a lot more advanced than you can add polygons, V-cycle vectors, and things like that. I'm not really going to be messing with the line of sight at all. I'm assuming line of sight has already been figured out on all these maps, so they know, D2, whether or not they can spot G7. I'm assuming if you added buildings in there, you would have to go in here and adjust the different line of sights if you were to add certain things. F5 is events. This is going to be where if certain units get to a certain spot on the map, then something might happen. If you're familiar with the board game version, that was kind of in a lot of their different scenarios where units got to a certain position, or once they could see a certain position on the map, then an event happened, and you read a little paragraph, and sometimes you roll the dice to see what happens, or sometimes you got reinforcements and stuff like that. So that's events. F6 is going to be your fire group hexes. This is going to be basically to help set up the AI for a scenario you're going to be using that is going to have AI components. So the AI knows how to use the different terrain hexes, what good targets are. If we go to F7, that is going to be your machine gun hexes. F8 is patrols. F9 is your line of sight string. As you can see that we have different line of sights, and it'll tell you if it's clear or not. And I'm sure that has something to do with vectoring of the different terrains. And when you create, you can see that's obviously blocked. Okay, so that's kind of that. So let's go back into Control L here. We're going to actually bring up. Let's bring up. Let's start from scratch actually. So what I'm going to do is actually Control Q to quit, and it takes me back to the original screen. So what I want to do now is basically kind of walk through what I've figured out so far about the editor and creating a map or creating a mission. This will be probably just a well. Let me show you something first before I get into that. If I go into the editor, yes, go into the editor. I'm going to Control L to load, and I'm going to go to let's go to bitter enemies and see if that's got what I need on it. F6. Nope, that's not a good choice. Okay, let me try again. I'm trying to find a multiplayer one. Let's see if this has got what I need. Okay, so yeah. You can see here that when I go to the Partisans Defense map, you can see that there are suddenly on the map some different fire group hexes. And they're set up, this is fire group 3, this is fire group 2, this is fire group 1, this is fire group 4. And this is kind of showing you, it's kind of showing the AI I'm assuming, like I said, a lot of this stuff I'm just figuring out for myself because, like I said, there's no documentation for it. There's no information really about it. So the only thing you can do is figure it out for yourself. So what I'm assuming is this is basically to tell the enemy AI, okay, this is a really good spot to shoot the enemies. These red spots are really good spots. And then the orange ones are next good. And the yellow ones are next good. And maybe the green ones are, okay, let's shoot them there if they get there. That's what I'm assuming. If I go to machine gun hexes, does that do anything? Yeah, I don't see any machine gun hexes. So that's the only thing I've been able to kind of figure out is what that fire group FG hexes is for, is kind of help the AI. If you go to the multiplayer maps, you don't see this, so that's why I'm thinking this is to help. This is to help the AI figure out where good locations would be to attack enemy units. I'm assuming that's what we're going to go with, anyways. Okay, I wanted to show you that because what we're going to actually be doing is we're going to be creating just a multiplayer scenario. So the first thing when we go into the editor, it's just going to load a blank map for us. There's no units, there's no nothing on it. You can see that we do have the terrain already figured out on it, which is really good. So what we want to do is we want to find a nice map and we want to create a little scenario. What I'm thinking is maybe having the German player assault across the bridge, which would be really cool. I'm sure there are probably a couple scenarios like that already, but we're just going to create one for ourselves just to kind of get a gist of how this thing works. So once I've got this up, all I'm going to do here down here in the bottom left is I can click the tab and it's going to give me my scenario information. So if I hit the tab key, you can see that it's gone to this very kind of generic looking list of information. Basically, each one of these boxes has information that's going to tell the scenario what it's going to do, what it's not going to do, etc., etc. So for us, we want Germany to be side 1. We do want Soviet Union to be side 2. We can adjust the turn length here by just clicking on this, and we can say, you know what, we want our turn length to be 9 turns. Okay, and you'll see it changes it to 9 turns. Right now, it is a blank map. That's the name of our scenario, is blank map. We don't like that, so we're going to change this. We're going to call this German Assault on Bridge. German Assault on Bridge. It's kind of generic, but, that's just what we're going to go with right now. Scenario text. And it just comes up with this blank message, and we can say, as the Germans advanced towards Grad, they encountered a metal bridge that needed to be taken. You have 9 turns to secure the bridge head. Okay, yes. Kind of generic, yes, but I would get more in depth once I've figured out exactly what I'm doing with my units and all that. I might give some more information, but right now we'll just save that. So there's our scenario text. This is our scenario name. This is how many turns it is. Side 1, side 2. You can have the initiative to be either roll, which, it rolls for both sides, or you can just say Germany starts or the Soviet Union starts, or chaotic, or just roll. I like just roll. One of the most important tabs is going to be this map information tab. So the map info tab, you can see when I click it, it'll actually have different locations for maps. So if I wanted to have maps that are back to back here, so maybe I wanted to have another map over here, I'm just going to click on the add button, and I'm going to find, let's try open here, and we say okay, and you can see that we now have map to map. You can actually flip it. So if you want to get a different orientation, and I can just click finish up here, and you'll see if I return back to our original map, if I zoom out, I'm actually going to change to F2 because it's a little easier for you to see. We now have a side-by-side map as opposed to just a single map to play on, which is really cool, but that's not what we're looking for. We're actually looking for a bridgehead, yes? So I'm going to go back into tab, and I'm going to go back into map info, and I'm going to clear this one, and I'm going to change this one, and I'm going to change this one to, let's see, river sounds promising. Yep, that looks good. But what I want to have happen is I want the Germans to have to fight through maybe a map and then get to the bridge. So I don't want this map here, I want this map above this one. So let's add this over here actually. Let's go to river. Alright, and then we'll change this one to, I don't want it to be a village, I don't want it to be something really difficult, but I would like it to be interesting. Let's see what this map is. BOH14, that sounds interesting. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Now if I flip it, I like it both ways. But I like this way because the main road comes in there. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Alright, so I hit finish again. And if I return back in, you will notice now we have a nice two maps that we're going to play back to back here for this scenario. You can see how our roads link together there really nicely. Excellent. And we got our little clouds going across the sky. You can turn the clouds on or off. In fact, probably should turn them off while I'm working in an editor. If I was to exit out of the editor right now, it would be bad news. Because I haven't actually saved anything. So Control S is save, Control S, and we're going to call this German Bridge Assault, and I'm going to hit the save button. Alright, now I can actually Control Q to quit, go in the options and turn off the clouds. Alright, now I can go back in the editor. Yes, I want to go back in, and I want to Control L to load, and I'm going to look for German Bridge Assault. There we go. And you'll see it saved our setup with our different maps there. Alright, so like I mentioned, we already have, looks like we've already got both of the maps figured out with the different terrain, which is really cool. In fact, we could double check that by hitting F9, which is that key there, and I can say, okay, let's see, if I'm standing here, do I have line of sight? Oop, hang on a second, folks. Okay, sorry about that. You can see that I've got line of sight blocked from that building there, so it looks like everything's pretty good there to go. So yeah, we'll just take that. Alright, so let's look at units, because, you know, obviously the game is all about moving units around and stuff. So obviously we're going to be having the Germans, and they're going to be assaulting the bridge here. So what I want to have is maybe some units starting over here on this side, coming down the road, and some coming down this side on the road. And they have to get to take over the bridge, and maybe they have to take over this building as well. So that's kind of my goal there with that. So the way the units work here is, if you look down here at the bottom, it shows you the current units you're working on. You can hit the Z and the X button, and it'll actually scroll through the different units and go to the next one. If you want to go to the other country, you're going to hit the A and the S keys. So you can see here I'm doing civilian there. This is partisans. This is Romanians. This is Soviet Guards, German SS, Soviet Union. So lots of different things there. So once I switch to the Soviet Unions, I can say, alright, what do we got here? We got a leader here. Alright, so we're going to bring a leader in. Let's bring, we want to have some resistance. We don't want the Germans just to roll right up to the front gates here of the bridge and take it over too quickly. So what we want to do is have some resistance here. So first things first, actually, let's bring in a couple of our units here. There's some heroes, some snipers. There we go. There's a 134, a 144. So 134 sounds like a good option. We'll put a couple of these guys up front here just to slow down the German advance. Right, so what we'll do is we'll put this guy right here. So what I have to do is to right click to add a counter. Once I right click a hex, I can add the counter. So you can see I've now added that unit there. It'll show me over here in the bottom left hand corner that I've added that unit. And I'm going to right click and add a counter. So now I've got two of them in that hex. So I got two of them in that hex. And we'll put one in this hex, one in this hex, one in that hex. Alright, that's a pretty good start. Let's see what else we have here. 144, 145 with an assault capabilities. And I'll also notice his counter goes there. This is a Soviet squads. 164. That's some long range shooting there. So we'll add that unit there. And maybe one across the bridge here. There we go. Looks good so far. Alright, let's go back. Let's find some leader. Add a couple leaders here. Alright, so we want a 616. We'll put him up front, I think. Add counter. There we go. Good. Oops. Not what I meant to do. Any other leader? Let's see what we got here. How many leaders we got? There's one there. We'll put him as the resistance. We'll add him over on this side of the map, I think. Let's see if there's anybody else that might be helpful. Well, there's a sniper. Let's add a sniper in. I'll put him over in the building? Yeah, of course. Sniper's hiding up in the building, waiting for people to walk across the bridge. Okay, there's a crew. Let's get to a leader. So I'm just cycling through our different leaders here. There's a nurse. Okay. And, oh, wait, we want to go back. We want to have some kind of AT. There we go. 76 millimeter. 76 millimeter AT gun. Okay, so we definitely want to have that. We definitely need to have that. So the question is, where are we going to put it? Because we're going to give the German maybe a vehicle or two to move up. Let's see. Where would be a good place to put that? Just over here? Well, no, we can't keep it out in the open. It's got to be undercover somewhere. Put it here in the light. Woods. Yeah, it's fine. I think we can... Yeah, we'll put it over here in the heavy woods. That's good. So they'll be shooting across. Yep, that sounds good. Right, so right click, add counter. There we go. Now, I haven't quite figured out how to rotate these guys yet. Or any of the units. You know, rotate them so they're facing different direction. Probably figure that out somewhere along the lines. So what else do we need? We need another hero is what we were working for. Or not a hero, leader. We need another leader. In fact, we need some... we need a guy that has this weapon here as well. We'll put him back here in this building back here, right? So let's get a guy here. Yeah, let's give let's put this guy there. In fact, we'll put two of them in there, and we'll give one of them this gun there, which I believe is a PTRS is a vehicle gun. Shoots vehicles, I believe is what it is. Okay, so yeah, and then last but not least, we need to put another hero out there. Sure, this guy looks good. All right, so we got some good defenses here on this side. Got an AT gun, couple guys in the back. So all we're going to do now is switch over to the German side. And the same thing, we're just going to go through the different units here, figure out what we want to bring on. Oh, let's add a couple of these guys here. Let's see. Add a counter. Add a counter. Add a counter. Add a counter. There we go. Let's see what else we got. 141s. Sure. Let's add a couple of these guys. Alright. Looks good so far. Alright, we'll add in one of these guys over here. There we go. In fact, we'll add two of those guys coming in that way. Good. Yep, like it. And we'll add... What are we going to add on this side? Stug G. Marauder. Tiger. Let's give him a tiger now. Oh. Yeah, we need to bring in one of these guys. That would be good. Definitely help on the assault there. And let's see. Put Lieutenant Warts over here. And I'll put this guy over here. Now we need to put a medic in the back there. Need a couple more vehicles coming in here. 432. Yeah, sure. This is just a test. Oop, just a test, anyways. So yeah, I can clear hex, clear the hex of counters. So if I don't like, I don't like that there. Just delete it that way. I haven't quite figured out how to rotate these guys yet. Arrow keys? Nope. Adjust the map. Left click? Nope. There are deploy zones if you shift click, but so you might be able to tell the scenario, okay, they can set up anywhere in the green hex is, or whatever. But right now I'm not going to do that. Not for this scenario anyways. I might eventually want to switch to that, but I would probably want to try this scenario first. Alright. 5-1. Okay, let's add a couple more guys coming down the middle here. 2 there. 2 there. And of course you're going to have to play test to figure out if things are balanced, if they have enough time, if they don't have enough time. Okay, sure, put that guy right there. Alright, so that's kind of the scenario set up there. So these guys are going to kind of defend. They do have an AT gun. So obviously the Germans are going to know, okay, well, we can't just rush up there with my vehicles because they could get blown to smithereens. So probably not enough time, so we would come in here and adjust the turns. Maybe 12 thousandths about right. Alright, so we got Germany, Soviet Union, initiative roll, we got the maps, yada yada yada. Alright, so let's return. So now the next thing we want to do is we want to decide the victory conditions. So there's many kinds of different victory conditions. In fact, if we go to victory conditions, it brings up a whole new set of objects and what you need to do to complete the objectives. So you can have it so that eliminate all enemies, or eliminate a certain number of squads, eliminate vehicles, eliminate armored vehicles, etc., etc., etc. What I want for this scenario is I want the German player to have to take the bridge and this building hex here. So what I'm going to do is you're actually going to go into, let's see if I remember how to do this now. If I hit F1, I'm going to go back into terrain, and I'm going to right click the hex, and you will notice when I do that it's going to go through a set of different kind of options. So right now it's set to none. I can set it to a standard victory hex. I can set it to special AI importance. I can set it to an exit hex, and I can set it to an exit hex 2, or I can set it back to none. So I want to set it like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. So there are 5 victory hexes on this map. And what I'm going to do is go back into tab, and I'm going to tell the victory conditions that we will use victory hexes, and in this case the victory conditions are from the perspective of player 1. In this case it's Germany. Germany must capture all, defend all, or 3 is whoever owns more at the end wins. So in this case I want them to have to capture all of those hexes, so we will use option number 1. Number of victory hexes needed. Flat number of hexes needed for victory for side 1. I think I need to change that to 5. Flat number of hexes. You can also tell it to check the hexes at the end of the scenario, or you can say immediate victory. As soon as they get all 5 hexes, they win. That's it. Boom. Done. Check hexes at the end. That's the way I want it. I want the Russians to be able to retake those hexes. In fact, what we might want to do is make another victory hex up here that will prevent the Germans from just steamrolling across, because if they don't secure, yes, we will do that. So now there are 6. So they need to also secure this and keep this. So they have to keep units back here to keep this, because if the Germans have some units and they can take this hex before the end, and even though the Germans take these hexes and this hex, then they would not win the scenario, because they have to secure all of the objectives. So anytime you do anything, Control S to save, and of course a good option is to call this German bridge assault. Save it. I'll replace the other version of it. Bring back up our units here. So you can see now that it's kind of glowy with the gold outline. That means, okay, this is an important hex. Same thing here with these and there. Alright, so then I would so this is set up for multiplayer basically. I haven't edited this for the AI. I'm just not as familiar as I want to be able to do that yet. So I'm not going to go through that in this scenario, but maybe in the next scenario, once I get a chance to figure all that out. Well, like I said, a lot of this stuff I've had to figure out myself, because there's no documentation really, and not a lot of information about how to do things with the editor. So it's kind of a trial and error until we figure this out. So now I could actually try this scenario out and see how it plays out, find out if it's too easy or too hard, and then once I play it a couple times, make some adjustments to it, resave it. I could then post it on the Matrix forums and have other people try it, download it, and see what they think of it. So there's kind of an overview of the basic information about the editor. And basic it's not really basic. There's really not much more to the editor than what I just did. There's a few things that we didn't cover. And one of the big things is the enemy AI. So you would have to set that up, the enemy AI. So what I would probably do for this scenario is I would make this you can only play this as the Germans, and I would set up the AI for the Russians and see how they could do in defending with what they have there. And then but of course before I do that I would probably test it out a couple times multiplayer just to see how how balanced the scenario is, if it's too easy to blow up the vehicles, if it's too hard, if it's too easy for them to get these objectives. Obviously they're going to need to get infantry over here to get this building hex, so they're going to have to get infantry across the bridge. So 12 turns is probably quite a long time actually. Yeah, but I don't know. I try it out and see what happens. Looks good. I think I like this. Yeah, definitely. Maybe I'll get a chance to try this out with my buddy tonight. Just load it up just to see how it plays out and see some interesting things. Maybe the German or maybe the Russian player needs to have some more defenses here, and I need to also figure out if there's a way. I know there's a way. If I go into F1 editors, you can add trenches, you can add foxholes, and you can add wire. I know you can add those options in there. But I don't see any way to add anything besides that. That's really that's really what I'm interested in doing in this. For this scenario actually, but yeah, I'll probably need to spend a little bit more time figuring out some more of the editor, and then we'll get into maybe a more advanced scenario. But this is kind of just an introductory multiplayer scenario, how to add units, how to adjust the maps, how to adjust the victory conditions. What else do we need? Here's the AI you can set up for, I'm assuming, so the AI is set up to hold. Really? What's 1? Let's see what option 1 is. Defend. There we go. And then reevaluate turn 3. Let's reevaluate at turn 5. Sure. This tutorial number ID and multiplayer ID just shows if it's a tutorial scenario or if you mark this as multiplayer, if it's good for multiplayer, if it's campaign number, campaign scenario number, if the night rules are on or off, if you want to have a snowy map, side 1 artillery missions are 0 and your artillery firepower, so if you wanted to have off-board artillery you could do that. Hidden units, you can either turn them on or off. Searching fire allows fire into unspotted hexes with control click for special scenario rules. And that's pretty much it. So it's not as complex, thoroughly too hard to get into and try out. But we're definitely, we're getting there. We're getting there. So that's kind of a look at the locked and load editor. I think we saved this. Control S just to save it one more time here. German bridge assault. Replace that. There we go. Well, we've got it, and we'll get to try it out and see if we can figure out how this scenario plays. And leave your thoughts, comments, suggestions below. Thanks for watching, folks, and we'll see you next time.